One of my favorite tropical fruits is the papaya. Now, if you don't like papaya, you're either a tad crazy, or maybe you've gotten yours from the grocery store. The ones from the grocery store do not represent the real taste of a papaya. I never liked papaya either before I had a fresh picked one in Hawaii. Completely different. It's kind of like comparing a store-bought tomato to a homegrown tomato. They're in completely separate leagues. And for some of the same reasons. For a papaya to be grown in a tropical location and get to your grocery store, it probably had to be picked green, shipped thousands of miles under refrigeration. That's not great. But a homegrown papaya that's allowed to ripen on the plant and picked fresh, the best. And with a squeeze of lime, even better. But maybe you think the only way you can get a fresh papaya like that is by taking a tropical vacation. That's not the case. And I'm going to show you how to grow your very own delicious papaya, even if winter snow covers the ground where you live. Coming up. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Brian, and if this is your first time here and you are looking to grow your own fruits and vegetables inexpensively and easily, then start now by clicking subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. Let's get started. Now, papayas don't grow on trees. Even though they're commonly called a tree and they even look like a tree, they're actually a herbaceous plant, and the fruit grows directly off of the main stem or the trunk. Now, papaya is a tropical fruit which can be grown outdoors in zones 9B to 11 in the United States. And if you don't know what your zone is, I'm going to put a link below. You can just click on it, put in your zip code, and it will let you know. If you do live in 9B to 11, you can plant your papayas outside with just a little bit of possible winter protection. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Now, if you live in 9A or below, you can still grow papaya. You're just going to need to do it in a container. But that's actually a good thing because papayas actually like to be a little bit root bound. Most of their basic needs, whether you grow them in a pot or in the ground, are the same. So let's get into that. Now, the first requirement, of course, for any plant is how much sun does it need? These are tropical plants. They need full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours of natural sunlight per day. Now, if you're growing in the ground, find a place with 6 to 8 hours of sunlight per day. And another positive thing to really look for, if you can, put them next to a south-facing wall or fence. So that surface can absorb the heat throughout the day, and then at night, release it to keep the plants even warmer during the nighttime hours. Now, if you're planting in a pot during the warm season, you're gonna have it outdoors in 6 to 8 hours of full sun. And then in the winter time, you'll want to bring it in and you'll need 16 hours of like an LED type of grow light. You don't want to put it in a sunny window because typically that's not going to be enough sun for the plant to survive. Now for the soil, it's pretty much the same whether you grow it in a pot or grow it in the ground. They like a really rich soil, rich in organic material, but also well draining. They don't want to be soaking wet all the time. In fact, that is what killed my entire papaya grove this past winter. We had so much rain, unprecedented amounts of rain here in Southern California this winter that they all rotted. All of them but one. So I think the worst enemy of your papayas is going to be bad drainage. So just make sure that you have a well-draining soil, whether you're in the ground, and over here where I'm going to be planting is actually, we already have a lot of sandy soil. So I just amended it with lots of organic material. But if you're growing in a pot, just make sure the pot, when you start to water it, if you see the water coming out within about 20 seconds, you're doing good. Now the pot you're growing in should be about 18 to 20 inches in diameter and about 12 to 15 inches deep. Now, although they like free draining soil, they are a tropical plant and they do need consistent moisture. Not soaking wet, but you want to put your finger in there and always be able to feel some dampness to the soil. Now, there are pretty much 3 different types of papayas you can grow. What I've grown up into this year is the Hawaiian papaya. and they don't take as much cold as some of the other papayas. This year I'm going to be growing the Mexican papaya. In fact, I've got these here that I started from seed, and I've got a couple of videos that I did earlier in the year where I actually showed you how to do that. So I'll put links down below to those videos as well. So the Mexican papayas can actually handle a little more cold in the winter. There is a third type though, Carica penta, it's right here on the screen, but basically it's called Babaco, and that can actually take temperatures down to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So that might be a good one to grow if you're like in the 9 area, the zone 9 area. Now, a little bit of word on how to successfully get fruit from these plants, because you need to know that right up front. In the ground, or if you have a lot of pots and a lot of space indoors, you're going to need 5 papaya plants to guarantee a male. See, they come in male and female, and every once in a while you'll get a hermaphroditic one that has both male and female in the same plant. But if you plant 5, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed that at least one of them will be a male, and 1 male for 4 females is perfectly fine, perfectly sufficient to pollinate all those females. Now, if you're growing in a pot and you don't have 5 pots and a lot of space, you want to make sure you buy a grafted plant. And that just means that that plant will be self-sufficient on its own. Another thing about grafted plants that's great is they start producing when the plant is only 4 feet tall. So that's great if you're actually having to bring it in and out of the house or in and out of the garage. It keeps it a little bit smaller while it's producing the fruit. Now, when you're growing in a pot, you want the plant to be outdoors as much as possible. So in the spring, when the temperatures get above 55 degrees consistently, you can now bring your pot out into full sun, harden it off a little bit. Don't just bring it out into full sun all of a sudden, but a little bit here and there every day. And then after, 4 or 5 days, it should be good to go. Throughout the warm months, throughout the growing season, you want to make sure you're feeding a well-balanced organic fertilizer. I actually use a fish and kelp liquid mixture. I'll put the link to that down below. That just keeps the nutrients flowing to keep the plant growing and give you lots of fruit. Now, overwintering, unless you're in maybe zone 11 or 12, you're going to need to have some kind of winter care, even us here. If you're bringing your pot indoors in the winter, then once you start to get into those, once frosty temperatures are starting to be forecast, you're going to want to bring those plants in under a LED grow light, 16 hours a day of light throughout whatever your cold season happens to be. Now, if you live in zone 9B, 10A, 10B maybe, like I do, then when the frost is rare here, but we actually had 3 or 4 nights this past winter where we did get frost. And I just went out and I threw an old sheet over the papayas, and that worked perfectly fine to protect them on those rare occasions that did happen. No matter which way you grow your papaya, I promise, when you taste that very first freshly picked papaya off of your plant, it's going to be totally worth it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or any tips, if you're growing papaya, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll see you next time.